Okay, first little teething problem. I put the carbs on, yeah, fine, put the tank on, turn the petrol on just to check everything, and this right-hand side carb was flooding. That meant that turned the tap on, and so petrol was just running out of it. No matter what, it's just as soon as you turn the tap on, fuel came out. So either the float level is too high, which is, to be honest, what I thought it looked a bit high when I looked at it, or the float needle isn't seating properly, so it isn't shutting off the flow of fuel. So what I've done is I've managed to get both float bowls off without having to take the carbs off, which is fantastic. Hopefully I'll be able to get them back on again without taking the carbs off. And so then what we've got here, so then we've got the original floats and the float needles, which are Viton rubber tipped, so they should seal. But I have had these leak before, and it was definitely the float needle, and it wasn't too high, the float. And these are the replacements. So we've got the stay-up floats, and these have got the adjustable tangs on, so you can literally just bend those tangs to adjust the height of the float. And then we've got new needles as well, just in case it was a needle that was leaking. And new spindles, because the spindles in these are fitted. You can't take them out, but in these they just slot in, and so they fall out, which is a pain. And we've got new, and they come with new gaskets. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting the stay-up. These are the stay-up floats, so these are solid. Unlike these, which are hollow, and they can potentially leak. So that's good. And whether or not it was the float height that was the problem, or the needle, hopefully by putting the new floats in and the new needles, it will cure the problem either way. Okay, I'm going to try and do this on camera. It probably won't work, but I'm going to try. So checking the float level. So I have adjusted it by bending the tangs very slightly, these two tangs that push down on the needle. So if I now push down on the tangs, we're going to look across, almost sort of across the level of the float pole. Okay, and the float should be just about parallel with the top of the float pole when it's fully depressed. Now the float, if I push the needle down, sorry, if I push the actual jet needle down, so that's with the float being pushed, the needle being pushed down. You can see the float is a bit below. So if I actually push the tang down, which obviously it's the tang that pushes the needle, then it's higher. And that, to my mind anyway, is just right where it is. Okay, so push down the needle is below the level. Push down on the tang, and it's just below the level, but really just about parallel with it, level with it. Okay, and that should be a float height. Whoops. Okay, so we'll put these back on and turn the petrol on and check we haven't got any flooding carbs anymore, because we've got the new needles and the new floats. Yeah, and just to say, yeah, I'm not a great float height person, but they do need to be right. If the float is really low, it will be rich. The carb will run lean, but only if it's really low. And if it's too high, well, rich, yes, but really, if it's too high, all that's going to happen is it's going to flood. So, the thing is to get it quite high without it flooding. That's in my book anyway. Other people will tell you a lot different. So that's just my opinion, and believe you me, there are many opinions. So you listen to whoever you think it gives you the right info. Right, there we are, all done, and all appears well. No sign of any leaking anymore. In retrospect, I've been thinking about it. I think the problem was more to do with actually the sealing of those the needle valves, the float valve. the actual valve, I think, had, even though I cleaned them, probably had a little bit of bloom still left on it, little sort of powdery residue from the dried petrol, and they just weren't sealing properly. And now, rather than the float heights, which anyway, we've got the new floats in and they're not flooding, they're not leaking anymore. So that's the main thing.